Next up is our, I would say, our marquee keynote of the morning, Anurag Agrawal, who is the founder and chief global analyst of Techaisle, is going to be keynoting. He's a veteran market research executive. He was the head of worldwide research operations for Gartner. He spent time at AMI, at Knowledge Networks. Channel leaders and vendors of all kinds bring him in to talk about what is going on in the channel, what is selling, what isn't, what motivates partners, and more importantly, he's known as the SMB guru. So he knows the small and the mid-sized business market incredibly well. Anurag also knows cloud, routes to market, emerging tech, mobility, big data, virtualization, and channel dynamics. That's where he focuses his thinking. He is a thought leader in the industry. As I said, Techaisle and Anurag are part of our board of advisors as well that helps guide our event and provide incredible content and insights for you. I've had the pleasure of working with Anurag for the past 5 years. There isn't a time where I don't talk to Anurag and learn something or discover something new that I can apply to my work every day, and I'm sure you're going to find the same. So without further ado, please welcome Anurag Agrawal from Techaisle, the SMB guru. Come on, folks, give it up for Anurag. The main stage, buddy.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you so much.
It's a big moment.
I appreciate this.
It's all
appreciate this a lot. Thank you. Good morning, partners, SPs, VARs, resellers, disties, agents, advisors, and IT vendors. First of all, let me say I'm honored to be on this stage. I am just an analyst. I have 400 people behind me, but I get to learn from you all. Right? My claim to fame is that I speak with you and I speak with the customers, your customers, and then I connect the dots and then forecast what the trends are. So thank you. I appreciate this a lot. So every 18 months, we do a census of how many channel partners are there globally. Right? So we find that there is one channel partner for every 291 businesses. So which means that if you do not have 291 clients, that means somebody else is really taking your share away from you. Right? Now, I'm going to throw a lot of data at you. Some you will see on the screen, some I will speak out. So if you want to take pictures, you want to take out your notebooks or paper, pencil, please do so. So there's 291 businesses. Remember, 87% of small business IT spend goes through the channel partners. Similarly, 74% of mid-market sales goes through the partners. And mid-market today is the real battleground. I have been advising all the IT vendors to really focus their attention on the mid-market, and all of a sudden, this year, every IT vendor has really woken up from their slumber. 64% of enterprise sales, in 64% of enterprise sales, there is at least one partner involved. So you are absolutely key to the IT vendor. But then when you look at AI, things start to change, right? There are 468 businesses for every partner. What this means is either some of you are not offering AI, which is the wrong thing to do, or some of you who are offering AI solutions to your end customers are not making much headway. And this is what we are going to talk about today. Right? Suffice to say that 94% of the businesses today globally are exploring AI. And not only AI, we are talking about Gen AI capabilities. So you need to get on to that train. Because if you are not there on that train, you will miss it out completely. Many years ago, when cloud burst upon the scene, many of you were slow to adopt, but cloud was forgiving. What that means is essentially that it gave you tremendous runway. And many of you used to talk to me and say, your clients are not ready. Your customers are not ready, whether it's a small business or a mid-market or an enterprise or a government organization or education. Today, it is different. Every customer wants to look at AI and Gen AI capabilities, right? So you have to get onto that. Now, what it also means is that there are certain partners, certain of you who are doing really well. So we went ahead and studied 2,500 partners, 2,500 to be precise, 2,506 partners. Not any partner, those partners who are offering AI to their end customers. And what we found when we started to analyze the data was that partners are segmenting themselves into two areas. There are the scaling partners and those partners who are static. The scaling partners are the ones which are actually adapting. They are agile, and they are making their impact. They are increasing their impact in AI. On the other hand, the static partners are following historical, established practices. Nothing wrong with that. But then we are in a different paradigm today, right? So what we found that 87% of the scaling partners are growing at more than 24%. And this is not an year-on-year growth. This is quarter-on-quarter growth from the ChatGPT moment. The static partners, on the other hand, are growing at less than 10% in their AI offering. So you can see now in which spectrum you are in. So what we are going to really talk about today is give you 9 steps, right? Or 9 points of differentiation as to how some of the partners are really scaling and what is how they are increasing their distance between the scaling partners and the static partners. Sounds good? Should we get into it? All right. Build the AI data foundations. So when you see the blue line, that's the scaling partner. The orange line or the yellow line, that's the static partner. Very quickly, you realize that you have to have the skill sets that underpins AI, right? And that begins with data. All of you know it, right? I don't have to say it, that there is no AI without data. Whether you are an MSP, whether you are an MSSP, whether you are an agent, whether you are selling communication solutions or collaboration solutions, customer experience platform, employee experience platform, data is the basic foundation. And very quickly, you start to see that the scaling partners are investing in data analytics and data science and data management, and even customer domain expertise. So you have to start to very quickly focus on those areas, right? Because of the fact that even if you are selling AI-infused applications, at some point in time, your customer is going to ask you, you know what, how do I integrate those applications? And then very quickly, your customer is going to ask you, you know, what about AI agents? Microsoft just announced that, you know what, I was with them a week ago, and they just announced that they want their partners to build their own AI agents. And the AI agents cannot be built without having a deep understanding of data. You need to get onto it very quickly, right? Then create a services showcase. Do you have new services? You know, 59% of new revenue is coming from services-led contracts. Right? 70% of the new revenue by the services vendors or partners is coming from services, right? So you can start to think about it. What type of services? It's not about just management of the infrastructure solution. It's about AI readiness assessment. That has supplanted everything else. Do you have a framework? Do you have the integration capabilities, right? Are you able to modernize and migrate applications, right? This is where you have to start to evaluate what type of methodology you have in store, right? That you can really address the needs of this customer, whether it's an SMB customer, whether it's a mid-market, or it's an enterprise customer. All of these are valid. You may be looking at this saying, you know what, my customers are small. They are not worried about modernization and migration. Let me tell you, they are. They are. You start to see what their applications they are, what they are actually adopting and how they are moving, right? Then you have to make your own internal AI investments. I'm sure you have heard this term, right? Eat your own dog food. Well, that's a very crass term. Maybe taste your own champagne or drink your own champagne. You have to invest in your own AI capabilities, right? Whether it's building a knowledge management or looking at what your AI-powered services is. If you are in the support service, what type of AI? You have to build your own AI agents as well. If you do not implement AI within your own organization, how can you advise your end client or end customer? You see this gap. This is a huge gap between the scaling partner and the static partner, right? There are IT vendors who have come out with this AI readiness assessment plans. They call it fast track, they call it fast start, they call it many different names. Even many of your partners, maybe some of you in the room have come out and you have given it name. There was a partner that I was speaking with. They have called it tailwinds. Tailwind is an assessment capability where you go to the end client. So you have to start to kind of build those capabilities internally. But how do you build them, right? One of the things we have found is the way that you have to really do it is look at how many business processes you have got. From a low of 12 to a high of 74. These are real numbers, by the way. From 12 business processes to 74 business processes that a channel partner has. Then you plot them in an X and Y scale. One scale would kind of say that, you know what? Is this critical? Can it impact my business? And then you say, hey, how complex is it? And then you will arrive at a conclusion that how you can adopt AI within your own organization, right? And once you do that, before Dell started to offer AI solutions to their end customers, they went internally. They identified 900 use cases. And then they systematically boiled it down to a few use cases, and they started to implement them. And once they were armed with that information, then they say, you know what, I can go further. I can advise my clients as well. So you have to, then you say, okay, I have built my technical capabilities. What do I do next? Prioritize deep customer understanding from the start. What does that mean, right? 70% of the buyer's journey is complete before first contact with the supplier. Think about this. 70%. So they have done the research on the product, on the solution, on you as well. It's time for you to flip the story. Why don't you research your end customer, right? When you look at it, everybody, what is everybody doing? They are doing their personalized assessments. They are understanding what the customer has already got installed, and so on and so forth, right? And most of you go to the vendor playbooks. I'm standing here on a stage, and I know many of my clients are here in this hall as well. But you know what? If you adopt a vendor playbooks, that's a handcuff. You need to look at what the vendor is giving you and adapt it to your own capabilities. Adapt it to you based on your own customer profile, right? So that is, but everybody is doing it. The scaling partner and the static partner, what is differentiated? That is where the differentiation is coming from. Are you showing a zero friction future path to your end customer by your thought leadership capabilities? If you're not, do it, right? Develop a tailored solution, not a personalized assessment. The customers want you to come understand their challenges, architect a solution, deploy that solution, and then manage that AI solution. So that's the capabilities you have to do. You have to leverage some industry benchmarks, the kind of data which I'm giving you today, right? And make research a Salesforce requirement. You mean to say that before you actually go to an end customer, you do the research. And many partners, the scaling partners, are actually using AI to really do that research, understanding what the customer's challenges would be, understanding the industry challenges that the customer is in, right? And they are using really AI. They are scraping the data. They are looking at the different models. Don't get bogged down by the fact that should I go with OpenAI or DeepSeek or Manus or Anthropic or Gemini. Don't do that. Just focus on what your customer is looking at, how you're going to solve that particular problem, right? Number 5, what you talk about the fact is, hey, value-driven customer relationships. What this means is, everybody has heard the term value addition. That's a term that came into being when the channel partner first came into existence, right? Used to add value by logistics or technical capabilities and so on and so forth. Now, the customer is saying, hold on, you need to create value. What is that value? It could be driving growth, driving innovation, reducing operating cost, and so on and so forth, right? So you understand that value, right? So you have to have the value-driven relationship. You used to go and deploy a solution for a customer. Then you moved on to another client, right? And you left the customer to derive value from the solution you deployed. But now the customer is saying, you know what? No. You need to be vested in my success. And that is important. And that is where AI is coming into the picture. Move away from transactional, right? I always say that what's happening to the resale business or what's happening to the MSP business, right? You have to think about it. Hey, is transactional enough? No, it's going to be more and more consultative, right? So what are the drivers? Focus on the book of business, entire customer journey. What that means is, again, going back to the same point that with AI, the customers are not opening up a huge door and saying, come on in and implement a solution for us that may take 8, 9 months or a year. No, the customer is opening up smaller windows of opportunities. If you are not there, somebody else is going to jump in through that window. So you have to be vested. So you have to have invested in the entire book of business and move away from the sales quota requirement, right? Be honest with yourself as to how your sales force engages with your customer. Right? If you're not honest with yourself, that somebody else is going to come in, right? And that's absolutely key for your success, right? Then elevate your thought leadership marketing, right? Remember in a few slides back, I talked about published material, and that is the thought leadership. Everybody, you have been told, and this is where the established practices come into the picture. Everybody has, you need to do email marketing and social media marketing and use search engine optimization. There is no difference. All of you are doing that. Almost all of you are doing that, right? So where does that differentiation come in, right? Publish your point of view. What is your point of view? What have you learned? How can you advise the client? Because the client is looking for that advice. You need to be the beacon for that end customer. And that is where the scaling partners are doing extremely well, right? Pick up 5 or 6 or 7 scaling partners. I cannot name them on the stage here, but pick them up and follow them. What are they doing right? Right? Analytics. You know, there is a 71% increase in use of analytics by the partners to understand their customer behavior, how they are coming, how they are engaging with you, whether through Salesforce or through your website or through your posts. Think about that and look at impact marketing. You know, it's one of the ideal things to do, right? Hey, many of you are in the NFL cities. Many of you are in the MLB cities. Do something locally there. It makes tremendous amount of difference because the buyer is changing, right? The buyers are changing. They want to see what good is being done in the market, right? Shift to account-based marketing. I was recently in Madrid, Spain, doing a full one-day strategy workshop for 30 partners of AWS, EMEA partners of AWS. I presented a variation of this slide, and I talked about account-based marketing. After the full day was over, 17 out of those 30 partners came and said, you know what, we have been thinking about this account-based marketing, but we never implemented it. Now we should implement this. Account-based marketing is a key, right? You cannot throw darts. There are 140 million businesses globally, right? You cannot keep throwing a dart, right? You have to create your ideal customer profile, implement a CDP, and then move ahead and do these customer advisory workshops, whether incented by your vendor partner or by yourself. Discovery frameworks. Create a discovery framework. Understand the data silos, data dependencies, what challenges that the end customer is trying to solve. You have to focus on many of these areas, right? And have those pathfinder plans. So you have to elevate your marketing. But this is a very key slide. Align your sales process with the customer needs. Shift from budget first to needs first. You know, BANT, B-A-N-T, was a methodology that was started by IBM way back in 1980s. Many partners still use that. What they do, 34% of their time is spent on understanding what the budget is of the end customer. Then they move on to decide, hey, who are the influencers within that, who are the key KDMs within that customer base. Remember, there is an average of 5.6 decision makers in a typical organization. Whether you are offering SaaS solutions, you are offering managed services solutions, whether you are going for modernization, migration. Right? In an enterprise, it is 6.4. In a small business, you will think it is the owner. No, it is still, there are 4.2 decision makers. I presented another variation of this slide in a sales kickoff of one of our clients. And I was talking about how many key decision makers are there. The senior vice president of sales, he shouted from the audience, Anurag, stop. And I got a panic attack. Did I say something wrong? Did I use a curse word? No, he jumped onto the stage and he said, he asked all his entire salespeople, approximately the same number of people, and he said, how many of you know one KDM within your customer organization? All hands went up. 2, 3, 4, 5. When he came to 5, there were only 2 hands remaining. He said, okay, sorry to put you on the spot. What's your sales goal? Although both of them replied they were between 3x to 4x their sales goals. Right? So you need to know who that decision maker are. So you have to flip it. You need to adopt this CHAMP methodology, what the scaling partners are doing. 34% of their time are being spent. Is that time? 34% of their time of the salespeople is being spent on understanding the challenges of the end customer. Then 23% of the time is saying who are the influencers or the key decision makers within that organization, right? You have to think through that, right? Then very little time is being spent on money, which is the budget. Then they help prioritize. You can't boil the ocean, but you can do one step at a time. This is where the series of windows come in. So move from budget first to needs first. This is absolutely key, right? You have to kind of think through this and say, okay, how do I really implement a good AI sales strategy? In fact, what we are finding is also that the scaling partners have also changed how the sales and marketing behave and interact. More and more, marketing is being equipped to land the first deal. They are taking it away from the sales. And sales role is to expand the deal. Going back to the same point which I said earlier, it's the point about series of windows, right? And the book of business, right? So the sales piece of it is saying, okay, you know what? I need to expand it. That's where the sales is being trained. That's where the sales is being used, right? So you have to think through in fact, 59% of the partners are finding that 70% of their new revenue is coming from expansion. Right? And there are many, many partners who have actually stopped doing AI POCs because they have done 80, 90 POCs. If you're not there yet, you start with that, right? So this is where you have to kind of think through it, right? And then we come to the last one. Embrace the benefits of ecosystem partnering. You can't do it alone. Let's face it, right? Ecosystem. I, as an analyst, I'm standing here only because of the fact that I am able to participate in what you are able to tell me, right? You can't do it. So you can call it P2P collaboration. You can call it ecosystem collaboration. You can't do it. So either you look at the formal frameworks that the vendors have created, or you have your own set of partners that you can work with. Look at for culture fit, look at for data fit, and so on and so forth, right? You have to think about it, augment your skill sets, right? Because without that, it's very hard to succeed, right? I'll come to the last 2 points here. You know, when cloud came about, right? Cloud was considered to be the great equalizer. What it meant was it leveled the playing field for small businesses and mid-market, enterprise, and everybody was saying, because, hey, everybody can use a Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics or SAP or Zoho or, Sugar CRM, whatever, you name it, right? You can do it. But AI is the great mirror. It exposes what you have got, right? It tells you who you are, what you have, where you are. And it allows you to recast every business process, every data point, internally and externally, right? And then it helps you expand the scope of business activity. You see this statement and then you realize, hey, this is your opportunity. How can you expand your business activity? How can you help your end customers recast those business processes? Because that's what they are looking at. They are looking at AI to accelerate their business process and business process in a box. That's what they're kind of thinking about, right? That's what you have to look at. So then, to recap everything, right? Look at it from 3 areas. Do you have the foundational capabilities and knowledge? What is your strategic market? What is your growth? What is your positioning? And how are you interacting with the end customers, right? I know all of you are running, right? Sometimes it pays to pause, to take a breather, come back and sit down, bring your CRO, your CIO, CTO, CEO, CFO, everybody in the same room and look at this wheel or half a wheel and say, which of these are our strengths, which of these are weaknesses, where do I act, and how do I respond to, right? And do a deep dive on this. That's it. That is my time. Once again, my name is Anurag, and I am an analyst here. Thank you.